Okay.
Hello, everybody. Wednesday night, and welcome back to the Masters Muscle Podcast. If this is your first time here, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Vin, quick one. We're about 7 weeks out from the Masters Olympia. How you feeling physically and mentally?
I feel good. It's very exciting knowing I'm going to be on an Olympia stage for the first time in my life at 56. I'm good. I feel good. It's all positive.
And Vin, another legend here, another icon legend, whatever term you want to call tonight. Who's our guest of honor?
Absolutely. Oh, my God. I could say that Ed Coan is probably one of the guys that I looked up to when I first started out. And a happy early birthday, Ed. Your birthday's next week, the 24th, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, it's coming up. Right. Cool. I remember, it had to be in the cage at the Arnold.
Yeah.
And Ed was there, and I knew he was going to be there at the Arnold. And I walked up to him, and I walked up to him with his book, and he signed it for me because, not only am I a competitor, and I've said this in the past other podcasts, I'm a fan of the sport, and I got to respect everybody who's paved their way before me. I never gravitated towards powerlifting, but I respected what Ed did, and it was like God seeing Ed, and it's like he's the Arnold of powerlifting. And I'm so humbled that you said yes to the podcast tonight, Ed. So welcome on. Thank you.
Hey, man, you deserve it. You've been through all the same stuff I've been and beat yourself up and came back. So hats off to you too. I mean, the only reason I went in the animal cage was to see Grant Heeg and you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Grant. Oh man, he's another animal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks like he can't do the things he does, and
he's like Kung Fu Panda.
It's like crazy. Like you see him like deadlifting and then jumping over tires. Like, yeah. What is this guy doing? I think we lost Sean for a second there. So you were just overseas?
Yeah, I was in Norway, and a month before that, I was in Singapore.
Cool. And you're just doing seminars and stuff?
Yeah, I was doing some seminars over in Singapore. In Norway, I do a few talks at there's a really big Highland Games and strongman contest for amateur men and women over there. That's like invite only from contestants all over the world. It's on a mountain in the oldest all wooden hotel, and it's right on the grounds of the mountain. So the whole hotel is filled with nothing but strong people, like-minded too. So it's really cool.
And what events do they have in these games?
Well, the Highland Games is the ones with they wear the kilts, and it's all a throwing event, caber toss and stone throwing, and oh my God, it's freaking awesome. And then the strongman is all the regular strongman event, from carrying stones to loading them to grip event to pressing event. It's really neat.
Have you ever done that yourself in competition?
No, the first year at the Arnold Classic, when Terry Todd ran the strongman show, he asked me backstage if I wanted to be in the show that day. And I turned around and I looked up, and Phil Pfister and Brian Shaw were right behind me. And I said, there's two reasons why I'm not going to get in this contest. It's like I'm a midget.
How did you like start getting into weight training from day one? Like, how did you gravitate towards weights?
I started because, of course, I saw Arnold and pumping iron. So I started bodybuilding, and I went in a contest. This is before they even had music.
Wow!
Oh wow!
And I think I was in the teen division, but in the open division, I think Lance Dreher won it.
Oh wow!
So that was a long time ago. And then when I saw Kaz compete on TV in powerlifting, I was like, wait a second. I don't have to diet that much or pose on stage. And probably the worst part was probably trying to get a tan because I'm so pale. And because they didn't have all the dyes back then.
Right.
I said, let me try this thing. And I just hit it off. It was like a duct of water.
And the lifts just came easy for you.
Yeah, it did. Because my first contest was in 1980. And by 84, I won my first world championships.
Wow.
In powerlifting?
Yes.
And how old were you?
In 80, I was 16. So I had just turned 21 in 84.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
So,
Yeah.
Ed, when you were doing this, were you already kind of stocky? Were you lanky? I mean, what was your body frame like?
But when my first contest, I was a very light 165er. I was barely over 150.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm like 5'6" on a good day. And like I said, I just started gaining weight and muscle really, really fast. And I never quit. I made up a routine and I wrote down my numbers and I stuck to it. And I learned a few things from my mistakes and I just kept going.
Did you have a mentor or anyone in the in powerlifting world to guide you along the way?
Not really. I mean, I had all the magazines, but my whole routine was based on just some old programming, and it was more power bodybuilding. Because I love the gym. I mean, we all love the gym. We'd all be still lifting if we didn't compete. And I love the gym actually more than I like competing. But so I always just wanted to be bigger and stronger. So that's what I did. I still did tons of bodybuilding stuff. I just did them really, really heavy.
Gotcha.
Was there a certain lift that you had in mind when you first started this? Were you like every person starting out want to bench, or did you really kind of all three at once?
All three at once.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I remember when I first started heavy squats, I maxed out twice a week until I hit 500. Then I decided I think I need to build up these tiny little legs because singles wasn't doing it.
I remember when we first met, the one thing that struck me about you that was a very positive one, you're a true lifter. You're a true gym rat. And I say that with the utmost respect. And I don't know if you remember, but you were breaking my balls like the whole couple of hours we were in the cage and you were teasing me. I'm like, I love this guy. We just met and he's hitting it off really good. And you're a guy's guy. And I love the fact that you were like that, because those are the kind of guys I gravitated towards when I first started training at Billy's Gym in Bayonne, New Jersey. Guys that just like, just broke your hump to make you train harder and to push you harder. And I always thought about like, wow, what would it be like to train with Ed? And never had that opportunity, but
it's all right. We're still alive.
Yeah. Did you go like in your later years? Did you compete in the Masters?
No, division? I never wanted to. I had done so much already that I really didn't want to take Masters records away from anybody.
Mm-hmm. There was no need to, no point.
I mean, a lot of the guys that compete in Masters started later.
Right.
So I just out of honor to those guys, I think they deserve the records they get. I did enough.
Got you. That was nice that you respected that.
Yeah.
Did you know at a certain point you were like, okay, I'm coming to an end of my career, where the lift's getting harder? It
was in 2007 when I called it quits. I knew my hip was starting to go. My family especially my mother had a history of a lot of different arthritis. She had both knees replaced, a shoulder, a hip. And I knew my right hip was starting to come to that point. And when I realized that I wasn't going to be able to compete at the same degree that I was, I didn't want to I didn't want to trophy hunt or anything like that. It was better off that I quit and take care of myself.
Got you. Did you sustain any major injuries over your career?
I did snap my knee in half, basically. And it's actually on YouTube under Ed Coan injury.
I did see that
during a squat.
You went right down. Right.
Yeah, it snapped pretty quick. It was all my fault. I set up wrong, and then I rushed it. My knee popped in and snapped.
How long did it take you to recover from that?
I didn't put a bar on my back for 6 months. I'm lucky that my cousin is my orthopedic surgeon, and myself and my therapist that worked for him, who ended up getting his doctoral thesis because of my knee, we just put our head together. He knew how to get me back to the point, and I knew how to get strong. So we just made up shit the whole time and learned from each other. And as soon as I put a bar on my back, I still went up into the mid 8s without even putting. I mean, they didn't have knee sleeves back then, but bare kneed with no problem.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
So, and doing some research, it says that you hold 71 records. Are they still intact?
Yeah, well, I think they are, because a lot of the records back then were different as far as the different equipment, and they didn't have all the specialty bars then that they do now. They didn't have the squat bars and the deadlift bars and stuff like that. We had 2-hour weigh-in instead of 24-hour weigh-in, which I mean, some guys can put on 25 to 30 pounds.
So I was going to go into my next question. So like for me, you know, bodybuilding has changed so drastically, and there's things that annoy me about it, and some, you know, but I gotta laugh. You know, it's the times, they change, and that's all cool. But like with you, how do you look at like the road you were on with having no equipment really, and you're squatting 800 pounds, and then you see guys who are using equipment. Do you look at it differently? Like
no, it's just different. As long as people don't compare them and say this one is big, since it's a bigger lift, it's better, or he beat a record. Well, if it's not underneath the same rules, then I don't even worry about it. I just applaud the guys for lifting and being strong. It's not that I worry about. I lifted under the standards that I held myself to, and I did that in a way that I'm proud of. So I don't worry about anything anymore.
Gotcha. Cool.
So, Ed, let's talk about your one, right? I guess if it's a record, you were the lightest person to lift over 2,400 pounds. Doing some research here. So 1019 squat, 584 bench, and 901 deadlift. I mean, what was that like?
In a full contest at 220, it was a 964 squat. In that contest, I benched 545 raw, and the 901 deadlift was raw. The 1019 squat was when I was at a very, very light 242 pound class, and somewhere in the lower 230s. But that was a good day, and that was under the toughest judging in the world, with no squat bar, no deadlift bar, 2-hour weigh-in, and actually there was drug testing that day. We all had to pass a drug test too.
That's cool.
So everything was going against you.
So when you're prepping for weights like that, I mean, when you're on your own, I say free time, like what do you're not maxing out at the 1,000 in your own gym. I mean, what does a general person work up to? I mean, do you stop at 800 and hope to go to that 1,000?
For me, the heaviest I went up to in training for that meet before I've gone up to 1,019 was 964 for 2. All the other heavy work for a little bit more reps, especially 5s and triples, were done before that, which gains your strength. And the last few weeks are mainly for peaking, not necessarily getting stronger.
Okay.
Gotcha. So I have a question for you. And this is towards me for a second. So I don't know if you know, but I have 14 anchors throughout both my shoulders. I tore both my rotator cuffs, and oddly enough, I can train pretty good. I can train shoulders really well.
Yeah.
But the issue I have, and I ask you for your advice on this, I have a hard time maneuvering heavier weight when I press for a chest, right? So I find if I set a barbell up in a dead press, like if I set it up where it's just sitting, and from a dead press and rest pause, I don't know if that's the right term. How do you feel about implementing that into a routine for bodybuilding to build mass again?
It comes down to this. We are special needs lifters. So we have to treat and find our own way to be able to do things. If that's something that you could do that doesn't hurt, that allows you to do more weight, then that's your answer, because you're not the same as everyone else. You can't be treated the same. My recommendation also would be do some type of pre-fatigue before that. Do a whole bunch of freaking cable flies and pump the crap out of your chest so it's already primed and ready to go. That you don't have to go so heavy.
Gotcha. So would you say actually rest the bar on the arms or just touch and press? What would be better?
I would stop it on there, but I wouldn't release anything. I would keep everything as tight as possible, because once you release, then all of a sudden your sternum drops, your shoulders relax, your upper back's relax. So then the first time you go to press, you're not stable, and that's when more injury can happen. And with your shoulders the way they are, everything has to be really tight and stable for them to move properly. If any little like elbow twitch out, or if it pops out here, or it goes forward where you roll and your sternum doesn't stay up, then you're potentially getting hurt again. Like I said, you're a different cause.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Yeah, because I tried doing it on like a plate loaded machine, like a hammer, but the arms come back too far and I can't rest it. So, but a barbell works. We're finding it works really well.
Then that's your answer.
Okay. All right, cool.
You got to remember, Vinny, I would ask you questions about problems I had too. We've been in the sport enough, and especially you with muscle building stuff, that you have to find a way to do it. The guys before us made up their own shit too, and then we adopted that. Right. So a lot of the stuff that you do here, guys will adopt later, because you had to learn, like, I know guys who learned martial arts and how to fight on the street in the back alleys, and then learned in a classroom, basically a dojo or something. And they were far better fighters because they learned a different way. That's what you're doing right now.
Yeah, I've learned. Oh my God, my whole entire program has changed. And
yeah, but you had to. But look at your physique.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's fucking great.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. So I'm trying.
And you used the word stability earlier. What are your thoughts? You see everybody on Instagram nowadays, the benchers that are overarching their back, like their back is not flat anymore. Is that something that's normal, or what are your thoughts on people that arch so badly?
A light arch is okay for competition. I mean, a lot of people who are very flexible can arch all they want as long as their butt is touching the bench and maintains contact. And is it healthy? No. They might have back problems later, but for the moment, they can arch and bench their asses off.
What issues would come out of that for their back?
Lower back problems. I did a seminar where Stuart McGill was there before me and did a seminar himself, and he said a lot of the people, that's really not the ideal way to do it for health, but he understands that that's what you have to do sometimes in competition. Me, I could never take a big arch. As long as I maintain my sternum way up high, it kind of sets everything in place. So like if you try to do a squat, a bench, a deadlift, an overhead press, a standing curl, a bent over row, your sternum is always got to be up, because it kind of sets your shoulders back, locks your lats in place, so then you have stability.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. I think I see so many people with social media today. People who don't know what they're doing are learning from people who don't know what they're doing.
Yes.
Yeah. So in powerlifting, a lot of times someone goes in one or two little contests, and all of a sudden they're training people online.
Oh, it's in my world also. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nuts. But it's a new world.
Yeah.
So Ed, someone's asking a question.
I just stay in my own little world, and I only invite certain people in.
I'm learning.
So Ed, we have questions that people comment on while they're watching the show live here. Someone's asking, why are those dudes that come from Iceland so freaking strong?
Well, they don't have as many sports over there. And when Thor and John Paul Sigmarsson got into strongman, the Viking power, they idolize strength in the old Viking way. So more people are just doing it.
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah, interesting. Who are some of the strongest bodybuilders or bodybuilders that come to mind that maybe you've worked with or seen over the years?
Johnny Jackson, Stan Efferding. A lot of the guys didn't go as heavy as they could. I got a feeling that Kai Green would have been massively strong.
Really?
Yes. He had flexibility, mobility, hugeness, very stable, very smart with his training. And the way he was built, everything about him was an incredible Hulk. Yeah, there definitely been some strong bodybuilders and some things. There's a couple guys. There's one brother that I forget his name, but Josh Bryan helps him. And I mean, he puts this pair of straps on and deadlifts in the upper 800s.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, there's some bad dudes. I mean, you don't get to be that big and last that long, and unless you have muscle, which you got to use some weight.
Yeah,
absolutely. So earlier you were saying how you put your own routines together early in your early days, and you were doing you were benching twice a week until you got to 500. What did you gravitate?
I was squatting twice a week till I got to 500.
Oh, squatting.
Yeah.
So
I always bench twice a week. I had a heavy day and a light day.
And that's how you applied it, a heavy and a light day?
Yeah, I had like heavy bench, heavy close grips, and inclines and triceps on one day. On the other day, I had really, really wide grip benches with my feet up in the air, a bunch of flies and shoulders on another day.
Why would you put your feet up in the air?
To teach my body how to get stable.
Okay.
Interesting.
Right.
I made it unstable to make it get stable.
Nice. Okay. So did you train every major, your squat, bench, and deadlift twice a week all the time? Is that?
No, at the beginning, I did train my squat twice a week also. But when I got up to a certain weight, there was no way I would be able to recover.
Okay.
So it was just one squat day and one deadlift day. But a lot of deadlift stuff is a lot of hips and lower back and stuff that you use in the squat. So you got to be really careful.
Yeah, sure. You see a lot of people today confused on where to place the deadlift. I see it all over the place. Either it's in on back day or leg day, and it's done.
I was able to separate them because it worked. If you're pressed, you can make almost anything work.
Well, I think common sense is thrown out the window today. People don't.
Oh God, yeah.
Analyze it the way we were talking a little bit. And for some, and I don't mean this. I really don't. But it's like, I feel like when you and I walked into the gym in the 80s and 90s, we walked in for a purpose. We walked in for a reason. And a lot of people go into the gym today are so distracted with their phones.
100%.
You know, when I say it, and I joke with them and I say, hey, you know how your phone can get you big? Like, how? It can't. Put it down. And they're like, oh, I can, take a rest between sets. I'm like, you don't realize how much you're taking away from the focus of your lifts.
It's tripods and excuses.
Yep. Yeah. And it's getting out of hand a little bit,
And they don't know the history of the weight sport they're in, whether it be strongman, powerlifting, bodybuilding. They don't research to know what the old school guys did to, excuse me, to get the look that they had.
Well, I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the start of it was CrossFit. And then now, fast forward, you have people doing what they did in CrossFit, bodybuilding, powerlifting, weightlifting, and they just mash it all together, and they don't know what their goal is. They don't know.
Because they do, look who they have to learn from.
Yeah.
Okay, if I'm a fairly newbie and I came to you, you're worth whatever I pay because of experience, You've been there, done that, learned all the tricks, know all the mistakes that you made. And of course, you're not going to let your clients make the same mistake.
No, absolutely not.
But now every day, everyone looks online and everyone thinks that they can train themselves right away and not make mistakes.
Yeah, well, we did, right? So we made mistakes, but I don't know, different world.
Big time different world.
Yeah.
So Ed, being the professional, I want to put you on the spot here. What are your thoughts on sumo squats?
I mean, real wide sumo squats?
Yes.
No, I'm not a big fan.
Okay. See a
Sumo
lot of
deadlifts, yes.
Okay.
Well, my off-season training is where I got strong. So my off-season training would be more of a bodybuilder Olympic lifting squat. It would be a high bar. I put the bar real high and take a lot closer stance and work my quads because my strength was in my hips and back.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty simple, right?
So the
My
closer
bench,
you
I
got,
bench with my feet up with a closer grip. My deadlift, I deadlift standing on one of the old-time fat Billard plates, 100-pound plate, and I do deficit deadlifts and deficit stiff legs with no belt all off season. Everything I did off season was a version of a squat, bench, and deadlift that would transfer over that I was weaker at.
Interesting. One of Vinny, mutual friends is asking, what did you do to keep your central nervous system from being overtaxed from your training? It's from Juan, Vinny.
I got in shape. That's really it. I got used to the training. I didn't overtrain. So when I made up a training routine, let's say it was 3 months long, I'll make it up from the back, the top, the last week, all the way down to the first week.
Okay.
Then I go over all my numbers, and then I write it again. Then I write it again. Then I write it again, till I got it down where every week builds upon the next. But it's all doable in my own mind to get me to a certain point that is also doable.
Okay.
A lot of times now, guys feel good, and they say, "Well, I'll go this heavy today." No, you stick to the routine because that's going to get you to the end where you want to be. If you switch it anywhere from beginning, middle, or end, it changes the outcome. And a lot of people don't realize that if you're going into a contest, the object is not to see how much you lift in the gym. It's how much you lift in the meet that counts.
right?
And a lot of people don't do that. But what I did with my training is every single exercise, every single weight, everything I did was always written down already, predetermined, and it was all doable. So I never missed a weight in training. Even my assistance exercises I had written in, and the weights and sets and reps. So I never missed anything.
Okay.
Did you also incorporate taking time off from the gym?
I tried doing that, and when I came back, I felt like a wet noodle and shit. So when I would lift, the heavier guys from 220 up would always lift on Sunday. So if I lifted on Sunday at the meet, Wednesday I'd come in the gym and do some light squats and benches. Then Friday I'd do some deadlifts. And then the Monday I was ready to go. I was recovered.
That would be after a meet.
Pardon?
That would be after a meet.
Yes, right after a contest.
Gotcha.
Getting ready for the contest, the week of the meet, on Monday I would take 500 for a couple sets of 5. On the Monday. On Wednesday I would do a couple sets of light benches, and I've already done my deadlifts the week before. I don't need to do them, and I'm ready.
What about the other? Go
ahead, Sean.
So I'm not hearing. What about the other body parts like biceps and triceps and some of the smaller areas, or you're just not doing that because you're incorporating them obviously in the big lifts?
I worked them all the way till the very end, but I did do some curls and triceps all the time, and back and shoulders. Here's what I did. My major exercises, like heavy dips, shoulder presses, heavy triceps, bent rows, and any compound heavy movement that I could do, I followed the same rep scheme as my squat, bench, and deadlift because I wanted those big exercises super freaking strong. And then I just filled it in, chin ups and curls. Those were all more for a pump and for, it's kind of like dotting your I's and crossing your T's on paper.
Okay. Cool. I completely forgot what I was going to ask.
Yeah, I'll give you a scenario. Here's the idea. Everyone has their own strength, and everyone has their own weakness. It's natural. It's built in us already. Now, if we only build our strength and it goes higher and higher and higher, but we don't build up our weakness, the gap becomes bigger and bigger, and that's where you get stagnated and hurt. So that's why I would do all these other exercises super strong to build up my weaknesses.
So you're talking about like the ancillary stuff, like a dumbbell bench press would be the weaker. Build that up.
Yes, if I was weak at that, I guarantee you I would be hammering them out as heavy as I could in the off season.
And what rep range would you be doing that?
I would go all the way down. If it was with dumbbell stuff, I'd go down to 5s. If it was barbell stuff, I'd go down to 2 still. What I was trying to do is build like a suit of armor. Wherever you got hit was chunks of muscle and strength that kept you together. I think that's why I was able to. I competed for 28 years.
Mm-hmm. When you picked a meet, how far out in advance would you start training for it? How many weeks?
Well, my off season would kind of flow a little bit in to the season. I would normally need 9-10 weeks at the very, very most.
No, okay.
Very most.
It's not like us where we need to do 12 to 20 weeks because we got a diet.
Yeah. That's the misery part.
I'm jealous.
What was your nutrition like, Ed? Did you follow a plan or anything, or?
I made sure I got enough protein, and then as long as my weight was under control for the weight class, I ate whatever the hell I wanted.
Cool.
What was the biggest weight you ever competed at?
247.
Okay.
There was a contest where it was like 220 and under got money and 220 and over got money. So I just tried to see how big I could get.
How did you feel, though? Did you feel like a balloon or feel heavy or what?
For the squat and bench, I felt great. Then bending over in the deadlift, your air gets taken out a little bit and you get a lot more bloody noses.
Okay.
I can imagine. When you decided, okay, this is my last meet, did you just naturally grab it?
And it kind of went.
What's that?
Say it again, Vin. Repeat again.
When you decided to end your career and go into and stop training for meets, did you gravitate into being a coach, seminars? Like what was the second part of your career?
I more got into doing a lot of seminars, more like a workshop format, and then Q&As afterwards. When by that time everyone has an idea of what they want to ask if I haven't already taught them it. I don't really get into coaching. What I do online on Instagram is I have people just send me a couple videos of their squat, bench, and deadlift. I'll break it down for them like in one sentence for free.
Cool. Okay. That's very nice of you. That's very cool.
It's nice to get back. If someone is nice enough to message you and remembers you and respects you for what you did, it's kind of easy to be nice back.
Absolutely. That's pretty cool.
Ed, we have someone else asking a question. What's a realistic amount that someone natural can add to their deadlift PR in 1 year with the proper training?
Well, it would depend on whether they're new to the sport or have been at it for a long time.
Let's say new, because I know who the person is. They're fairly new.
In 1 year, they could actually easily add 50 pounds.
Okay.
Because, by that, you go, the routine they're on probably isn't that good, and their technique probably isn't that good. And if they're new, they got a lot of weaknesses that have to be built up. So in the course of a year, you can lay down a really good base where you have stability and change their technique for the better. There's no telling what you can do then. And you know what? A lot of that is just like bodybuilding. If your technique is wrong and you pick the wrong numbers, you're going to overtrain and you're not going to develop the muscles you want. it's kind of the same in powerlifting with just a little twist at the end.
Yep. Who are some of the people like in the sport that you respect now or maybe in the past?
In my sport?
Yeah, in powerlifting.
Well, the past, there's so many old school guys that were all nice to me.
Okay. Because we had Rudy
a lot
Cat.
of
I don't know
guys
if you know Rudy.
really nice
Rudy.
if they know their history, and most of them are pretty respectful. The new people, they won't even. A lot of them don't even know who the hell I am.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, because I mean, back in the day, I knew every single bodybuilder that ever competed. I used to look at their pictures from like the old Mr. America in Muscle and Fitness. I knew everybody's name.
That was like when we met at the Arnold, and I walked up to you, and I think I quoted you a couple of your lifts or whatever, and you were so happy. I knew that, and
yeah,
you don't
it's
see
cool
that.
As hell.
Yeah, well, I respect
because
you.
I knew who you were already and what you did. So when someone that I definitely would respect from another sport knows who you are, it's like, oh wow, this is fucking cool.
And I said that to the guys. I was like, Ed knew who I was. Like, well, yeah, because you accomplished some stuff. I'm like, yeah, but I think like I'm in this small little world. Nobody knows who I am. So it was kind of cool.
Well, that's what we think.
Yeah,
we don't go outside the confines of our own gym.
True.
Well, our safe place.
Yeah. You know, I did one meet. Oh, I did 1 year. I did 2 meets under Andre Skiba. I went to him back in 2013, and I said to him, Ed, hey, I want to. I'm going to throw everything out the window I know about bodybuilding, and teach me how to squat, bench, and deadlift for a meet. And we trained together for a year. I went down every Wednesday and Sunday, and I enjoyed it. I loved it. I had, my little experience.
It's different. It's something that stimulated you.
It brought me back to the roots of lifting, which I love.
Yes.
It was so cool. Yeah.
But Vince,
it's very raw, and it stimulates your brain in a different way.
Yeah.
How hard was it, Vin, to kind of wipe the slate clean?
I want to say I'm a good student. So when I work with somebody, I will give them 100%. So when I went to Andre and Eric Schwartz, who we both know, and I said to them, teach me how to squat. And Eric was like, you already know how to squat. I said, I want to be uncomfortable. I want to put weight on my back that I'm not used to. Teach me how to breathe. And it wasn't hard for me to
because
learn.
You wanted to do it.
Yeah, I wanted to do it. The only thing, like, I remember, like, on Sundays, I would drive down to Carteret, and I was like scared all the time because I knew like there was going to be weight on my back that I'm not used to. I mean, for bodybuilding, squatting 365, 405 for 8 reps, 10 reps is one thing. But when you're aiming for over 500 pounds, when I'm not used to that, and I couldn't understand it the first couple of months, I was intimidated. And then everything fell into place, and I enjoyed it. I really did.
Yeah, your hips and back got used to it. Because training the way you train as a bodybuilder, it's a little bit different style squat. And that the end is different. The whole end of the training cycle is different for a powerlifter and a bodybuilder. But the work is the same. And it would be like me trying to get bigger. I'm going to have to do more reps. It may be a little uncomfortable, but that feeling afterwards is just beautiful. I don't mind being tired because you feel great.
Yeah, I love it, and I don't know if I would ever stop. I would like to go back to when I'm retired from actually competing in bodybuilding. I kind of want to go back and gravitate towards a weightlifting kind of program. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
I think everyone once in a while should switch their program up to more exposes a weakness that you have. I remember one time I did the color commentary for a big meet in Australia. It was called Big Dogs, and it was for everyone who had mostly you had to be 275 or over.
Wow.
Wow.
And in the squat, there was a lot of guys, because the meet was run faster, because a lot of people used to get used to lax rules because they were going in money meets and that the timer wouldn't exactly be set. So they got as much time as they needed. Well, they didn't do that here. So there was a lot of guys missing attempts. And on video, they asked me, well, what do you think about that? I said, well, I never had a problem because I showed up in shape. You have to be in shape. Part of that is having to be in shape. I mean, when I was just in Australia, everyone hiked up to the top of the mountain, which is 40 minutes. And Nick Best was there with us.
Okay.
And I didn't do the hike that day, but Nick did the hike. And he weighs over 300 pounds, and he's a strongman. And he went to all 3 peaks of the mountain that day without a problem. Now, it beat him up a little bit, but he was in good enough shape as a strongman with all the stuff he did to be able to do that. Now, a super heavyweight powerlifter probably couldn't do that. It's a different sport. It's a different activity. So, yeah, I definitely think being in shape is the #1 key. Because when you're in a powerlifting contest, if the meet is run faster or according to the rules, by the time you get to a deadlift at the end of a long day, if you're not in shape, you can't deadlift shit.
So when you say you were in shape, so we're hearing you the way you trained, the way you ate. How did you become in shape, like to withstand a lot
from my off-season training?
From your off-season training.
Yeah, I would just take less time in between sets.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So taking less time in between sets, how does that equate getting in better shape? Because to me, as a bodybuilder, when we start training for a contest, we shorten the period of time in between sets a little bit.
Well, I'm going a lot heavier, but when I take less breaks, when the meet gets longer, I'm not tired because I already put myself through anything harder than I would have to do in a meet.
Okay, I understand. I got you. Okay, cool.
And you used the word program earlier. What's the proper length of time that someone should stick to a program before maybe trying something new?
When it stops working.
Okay.
That's simple.
Simple.
But then sometimes you have to go and you have to break it down. Why isn't it working? Am I like what a stand effort thing is? What are you doing outside the gym? Is your eating good? Is your sleep good? How are you recovering? If you know that's okay, well, what did I do wrong in my routine? Or am I picking the wrong auxiliary exercises that don't transfer over? I didn't do any exercises that didn't help any of my big lifts. I didn't do them to be pretty. I did them because they helped my big lifts. And I knew that if I was the best I could be in powerlifting, that I was going to look pretty damn good anyways. So I didn't have to worry about that. You're putting in effort to exercises that are going to help you squat, bench, and deadlift.
Okay, so let me change the question then. How long should somebody try the program? Because in today's world, everybody wants it here and now. Okay, if people, I'm talking for the bodybuilder. If the people are doing programs 2-3 weeks, they're not seeing what the results they want, and they're changing it. When we know they should be doing it longer than that. So, what would you say someone should do for a program before they change it?
A lot of times, it takes 2 years to lay down a good base.
Wow,
it doesn't make your night. You're gonna make a lot of gains, but don't be fooled by those gains because those are newbie gains. They're pretty easy to get by just actually putting in some effort in and out of the gym.
Yeah.
Okay.
But my routine itself never really changed because it worked. I put forth a lot of effort into the exercises needed to get better, and I picked the right numbers without ego.
Mm-hmm. So when you did a meet, let's say conversation's sake, we're going to pick the bench press for a second. And in the meet, you hit the number you wanted to. Your third attempt was what you wanted to hit. Do you expand from there to say, okay,
Yes.
the next meet I did 500 here. I want to do 505 next meet.
It would usually be a little bit more than that. I knew I could always gain muscle and I could always gain strength in the other exercises that I did. That was my advantage. That I went back and I did heavy ass fucking inclines and close grips and shoulder presses, like I said, dips and triceps and back exercises, heavy as hell, to get that, bring up those spots so they weren't weak. So, you know, my favorite exercise was bent over rows. I would go to a very, very, like, it was around 580 for sets of 2 on bent over rows, because where do you put the bar when you squat? On your back. What do you lay down on the bench that keeps you stable? Your back. What do you deadlift with a lot? Your back. What keeps your whole body healthy? The position, all the muscles around your shoulder blade keep your whole shoulder girdle intact and allow you to get in a better position, like I said, with the sternum up for squats, benches, and deadlifts. So a lot of stuff I did was based on that, exactly that. More bang for the buck. What's going to help? And I stuck to it like a son of a bitch and never gave up on that stuff. But I went from doing high reps all the way down to 2s on bent over rows. The same with shoulder presses.
And what would high reps consist of for you?
10
reps.
Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong. So you paved your own way. You did things the way they worked for you.
Yes.
And you had success with it. During your career, did you ever come across anyone to say, you know, Ed, that's not the way you're supposed to do it. You got to do it this way?
Sure.
Yeah.
And I would say, well, look at my totals and records.
Proof is in the pudding.
Here's what I don't do, and a lot of the workshops I run, is I don't tell people exactly how to train, because there's a lot of different routines out there that work because the guys pick their numbers right. It more comes down to that. It's like, you know, a lot of bodybuilders, their routines are all different, but everyone can still be a champion and they make great gains because they put in a proper amount of effort.
Yep.
So if you put around the proper amount of effort and realize this is what I need to make me better, whether it's my squat or your upper chest, or my deadlift or your calves, or my bench or your back, it transfers over the same.
Well, this is the question I had for you that I forgot before. You had said earlier that in the off season, you would have the bar high on your neck when you squatted. And then did you lower it as it would get closer to a meet?
No, I would do a whole, whatever amount of 8, 10, 12 weeks with the bar high with a closer stance to work my quads, because I knew that was a weakness, and you're not going to bring a weakness up if you only do a few weeks of it. You have to really hammer it for a longer period of time.
But then in a meet, do you went a wider stance, or you went to the same stance?
Yeah, a little bit wider and opened up my hips more with the bar lower. But there was that 8 or 9 or 10 weeks that I lowered the bar and got ready for that.
That was my question. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Got you.
So, Ed, we have another question here from it seems like an historian. Does Ed remember the 99 seniors when he hit 1019, what the story was with the red lights on, soft knees? Was this the start of the hip issue? What numbers was he trying to hit that day?
Yeah, it wasn't the start of the hip issues. When I locked out, I leaned back a little bit too far, and that made my knees have a slight knee bend in them at the top. So they said it was soft knees.
Okay. And have you ever trained with Louis Simmons at Westside Barbell?
I never trained with Louis, but I knew Louis before he even started Westside Barbell.
Okay.
Wow, that's cool. I never got a chance to meet him.
He was definitely a character, but I mean, he lived his life for strength.
I love the documentary that they put out.
Yeah.
The World versus Westside.
Yes, it was great.
That was great. It's funny, like I talk to some of the people in my gym where I work, and I'll tell them about I'll tell them about that movie, and then they'll say, "Yeah, we watched it." They're like, "I didn't know chains and bands and was around then." I thought it was brand new. Like, no.
Not as much when I was at my best, but the change in bands, a lot of it came down because of it helps more with the equipment, I think, with the extreme, like the multiply equipment, because the strength curve is different. So it helped a lot more with that. And it just elevated the guys. It kind of taught a lot of people how to grind through a weight when it got harder at the end.
Right. It's just funny how people don't know the history of the sport.
No, you can, man, if you just learn one new thing, it ups your game and makes you better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Ed, what does your training schedule look like these days?
Basically the same, except I don't do as long or as heavy. But I still like to put in a good amount of effort in the squat, benches, and deadlifts, or lower back at least.
And how are you feeling when you wake up in the morning? Is hip still bothering you, or kind of what's the mornings like?
I had both of them replaced, and I can pop up out of bed and squat below parallel in a heartbeat.
Nice.
Wow. Okay.
Now my shoulders took a beating all the years, and a little more than 8 weeks ago, I went to Mexico to a Dr. Coan, Adil Khan, and got a few 100 million stem cells injected throughout my body.
Wow.
So they're starting to work now. My shoulders are actually starting to feel a little better.
I just recently did exosome therapy in my left knee. Was that something you had?
Skipped around a little bit. I couldn't hear.
I recently had exosome therapy in my left knee. I had an injection.
Yes.
Yeah, and it took about 8 to 10 weeks for it to start to feel a lot better. I'm able to squat again. I can do hack squats again. It's like a miracle.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had IV'd. I had 200 million of the high grade stem cells, and then I had the joints in my shoulders injected with the high grade stem cells, and then I had fat cells injected. Everything's done under ultrasound. I had those injected in the micro tears I had all around my shoulders, 3 shots in each shoulder after the injections into the joint. And it was kind of cool. I just watched it on ultrasound as you stick the needles in and moving them around.
Is that something you need to have done again in a year, or because I'm still learning myself on the whole stem cell?
No, it's a good idea actually if you can afford it to get the IV stem cells. Because it kind of goes throughout the whole body and helps. I mean, it helps with everything. But if not, people just got to learn how to take care of themselves. You can't beat yourself up and be on a shitty diet, or have a great diet and don't train hard enough. There's a fine line. You just got to, here, everyone's got a scale, everyone's got a mirror. And everyone knows, if they're honest with themselves, how they feel in the gym. It's not that hard to train or change yourself if you are honest with yourself. Write it down on frickin' paper instead of typing it into a computer, and you'll learn a lot more. That is so true, and it is so true. Because I think when you put it on paper, you're actually opening it up to the world. It sounds crazy. But it opens up your brain in a different way when you write it down. It's a little more real.
It's more accountability, I think.
Yeah. So, wow, this has been great.
I said, I listen to my standards, not anyone else's standards. I have to be proud of myself because, I mean, when you're in a gym and getting a spot and there's other people helping you, when you're on stage, when you're dieting, when you're doing all that fucking other grunt work that you have to do to look great on stage, that's you and you alone. Yep. When I had to lift, that was me and me alone. I had to worry about myself and be proud of myself and get in my own head to make myself do it. I loved it. I held myself accountable because I loved it so much. You want to be the best. You want to respect yourself. Oh, totally. I mean, so I completely relate to what you're saying, because when I made the decision to make a comeback and compete, I had to be, one, realistic. I'm older. I can't compete with the open guys, but there is a master's division. And at the same time, I had to relearn my body because I'm older and I had to train a different way around the injuries and everything. And I had to make myself accountable.
And I had to, like, at the end of the day, like, did I give it 100%? And that's, I sleep well at night because I know I give it 100%.
Oh yeah, coming back from your shoulder injuries, your surgeries is fucking awesome. Pretty cool, and I do respect the hell out of you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think like I'm not training hard enough. I'm like, can I go heavier? Can I go? But then I'm like, I gotta find that balance where I'm not gonna get hurt again. I gotta push the envelope, but I gotta be smart.
How do I up the intensity without getting hurt?
That's the question in my head all the time.
What happens, Vinny, I think, is a lot of guys think they have to raise the weight or do more reps to get more intensity. Whereas if you change an angle on something or take less rest in between sets, that will up the intensity by itself without the added risk of injury.
And also, like we're going back to what we were saying before about the way we train, I think every program works. You have to follow it through to the point where, like you said, when it doesn't work anymore. And as a bodybuilder, I'm not looking for big lifts. I'm looking for stimulation. So if I'm not getting a pump, we now go over to a different kind of workout.
It's changing the whole narrative of why you're training.
Yeah. I go for some weeks with a 5-rep program. And then once the weight is comfortable where I'm warmed up, that last set, I push the envelope to how many reps I can get. And then there's weeks where I'm doing 12 to 15 reps. So it's all
effort. How much effort did I put into this set? It's all about effort.
Today,
at a certain point, it's not the weight anymore. It's what do I put into this exercise?
That was my approach today. I did legs, and I thought about how much effort am I going to put into this today, and it was one of the workouts where I was looking for a garbage can because I came close to getting sick, and that's not no joke. I mean, it was that I got to that point, and if you see, I put the videos up on Instagram, and I was doing drop sets with Bulgarian split squats and 10-second pauses at the bottom on a hack squat, and I just wanted to make the effort that much more intense. Like I wanted to, how do I make this harder today? I got 7 weeks to go to the Masters Olympia. I'm not training heavier, and I got to kill myself. How do I do that?
Yeah. Without getting hurt.
Yeah. Well, and then I got a friend in my head, Ron Stevens, who out of Vegas, who was in the class, just had to pull out because he tore his quad. So he's on my mind when I'm training legs. Yeah. We're the same age, and so and I'm not a beast like him. He's much stronger than I am. So I've never been known to be a strong guy. So I want to be known for my workload, my intensity. So but we're all different worlds, same goal.
Yeah,
feeling good in the gym.
It's the same, but a little bit different.
Yep.
They actually there was a line that I used to hear that was said. It was your greatest strength could end up being your greatest downfall.
Yep. It's good.
I like that one.
Yeah.
I like that one. Ed, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, yes. Thank you guys. This is awesome.
Yeah. Maybe we got to come back another time and talk.
Where is the Masters Olympia at?
It's in Cluj, Romania, Sunday, August 27th. Oh, yeah.
Now,
I never traveled.
Okay, here's a question to you. Because of the travel, what do you have to change or do differently in your diet?
So I'm not going to really change much. I just know so the contest is on Sunday, August 27th. I'm leaving Friday, the 18th, because I know my body is bad with the jet lag.
You end up holding a lot more water too, I think.
Yeah. So I never competed overseas before, but I've been to Italy and Poland, and I know how I am on the 3rd or 4th day. I'm still a mess.
Yeah.
So I feel like, let me get there early. I'm going to be prepared with my food. I have a cooler. I'm going to have like 8 meals with me for the travel. And then I'll have frozen steaks and stuff in my suitcase. So I'll be prepared. And,
a lot of times you could find out because the host hotel usually, if the promoter does it right, will have great food there for the athletes.
Well, I have a contact in Romania, and this guy is going to pick me up from the airport. I have an Airbnb already set up. I did that back in January when we knew when the date was going to come, that who was going to be invited. I said, let me just book the Airbnb just in case, because it was like $22 a night. I'm like, I can't pass this up. So I booked the Airbnb, and I'm there until the day before the contest because I have a kitchen.
Nice.
So, yeah. But
that's pretty fucking good. Good job.
So I'm trying to be organized as much as I can before I get there. So
no, you're not trying at all. You're doing. Everyone that says they try never does. You're doing.
I'm doing it. Yeah.
Finn, before I forget, have they announced anything? Is this going to be on pay-per-view or anything?
I believe so. Yes.
Oh, cool.
And also too, Sean, I just want to say thanks to Michelle and her husband for making me the medallion for the Masters Olympia. I got that today in the mail today, so it's pretty cool. Thanks, Michelle. Michelle's bling, right? Is that? I'm Michelle.
Michelle's bling. She's a 65-year-old female competitor that's just killing it at 65.
Yeah, she'll be in the Masters Olympia too.
In female open bodybuilding.
Well, it's time for me to go eat some fish and asparagus.
Yummy.
I got to get that going. So, thank you so much, Ed. We'll have you on in the future. And
you ever need anything, just ask.
Thank you so much. And where can people reach you on Instagram?
At Ed Coan or at Eddie Coan or whatever it is. I don't know. Something like that.
Okay, cool.
And Ed, again, it's been an honor. And for everybody listening, next week we have legendary Porter Cottrell joining the show. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the week. And Ed, God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Good night.
Take care, guys. Good luck, Vinny.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Ed, thank you.